They built that prison on cursed ground. Now something lives beneath it. My name is Marcus Chen. I'm a prison reform activist. 3 months ago, I received an encrypted video file that changed everything I thought I knew about Millbrook Correctional Facility. The timestamp showed it was recorded just 2 weeks before the facility was shut down under mysterious circumstances. The video looked like tourist footage at first. Shaky camera work, excited whispers. But the location was wrong. Dead wrong. This story combines real criminal investigation with elements you won't find in any official report. What I discovered beneath Millbrook Prison goes beyond human corruption. It reaches into something far darker. Subscribe and hit the bell if you want to hear more stories like this. Drop a comment telling me what time you're watching and what city you're from. The community support helps more than you know. The abandoned Millbrook Correctional Facility sits 30 miles outside Detroit, officially closed 18 months ago due to structural concerns. Unofficially, nobody talks about why the guards abandoned their posts after the power outage in Sector D. I'd been investigating prison conditions there for 2 years when the video arrived. No sender information, just a file labeled basementtour.mp4 in my encrypted Dropbox. The footage began innocently enough, a handheld camera panning across what looked like stone corridors, ancient masonry, not the concrete and steel I'd expect from a 1970s prison. Someone behind the camera whispered excitedly, "Look at this craftsmanship. These tunnels predate the prison by centuries." The voice belonged to Derek Matthews, a local urban explorer whose YouTube channel had gained modest following, documenting abandoned buildings. I recognized his voice from previous videos, but Derek had been missing for 6 weeks. The camera moved deeper into the tunnels. Stone walls gave way to carved passages, symbols etched into rock, not random graffiti, deliberate, ancient. "There's supposed to be 13 levels down here," Derek's voice continued. "The prison only admits to 3 basement levels. But look at this." The camera focused on a metal door, heavy, industrial. A sign read, "Level 7, authorized personnel only." That's when I heard the other voices. Chanting, rhythmic, coming from deeper in the darkness. Derek's camera shook as he approached the sound. The video quality degraded, but the audio remained crystal clear. Multiple voices speaking in unison, not English, not any language I recognized. Suddenly, footsteps echoed through the tunnel. Running, Derek's breathing became rapid, panicked. "Someone's coming," he whispered. "Multiple people. They know I'm here." The camera swung wildly as Derek tried to hide. Shadows moved past his hiding spot, figures in dark clothing, moving with military precision toward the source of the chanting. "The underground accepts new vessels tonight," one voice said clearly in English as the group passed. Derek waited several minutes before emerging from his hiding spot. His hands were visibly shaking as he continued filming. The video cut to black. I watched it 23 times that first night. Each viewing revealed new details, scratches on the walls that looked deliberate, stains on the stone floor that weren't rust. Most unsettling, the figures had moved without making sounds until they spoke. The next morning, I called Detective Sarah Rodriguez. She'd been my contact during the official investigation into Millbrook's closure. "Marcus, you need to let this go," she said before I could explain about the video. Her voice carried an edge of genuine fear. "Did you know about the tunnels?" Long pause. Static on the line. Then, "What tunnels?" "The ones under the prison. The ones Derek Matthews was exploring before he disappeared." Derek Matthews had an accident. Case closed. But her voice wavered. "What kind of accident?" "The kind where smart people stop asking questions." The line went dead. That afternoon, I packed my investigation gear and drove to Millbrook. Something in Sarah's voice told me I was running out of time. The prison grounds looked different in daylight, more decay than I remembered, nature aggressively reclaiming the perimeter fence, windows boarded up with fresh plywood, despite the facility being temporarily closed. But someone was maintaining the place. Recent tire tracks in the mud, fresh footprints around the main entrance. The decay was camouflage. I parked behind the old guard station and approached on foot. The main gate stood slightly ajar, not locked, not secured, as if someone expected visitors. Inside the main yard, I found the first piece of physical evidence, a hand-drawn map tucked under a loose stone, detailed blueprint showing underground tunnels that officially didn't exist. The map marked 13 levels beneath the prison, each level annotated with coded descriptions. Intake processing on level 3, preparation chambers on level 7, primary assembly on level 13. At the bottom, a handwritten note in Derek's distinctive scrawl. They've been waiting decades for fresh blood. But someone had added a second note in different handwriting. Turn back now. Last warning. I photographed everything and continued exploring. The main prison building felt alive with hidden activity. Sounds that stopped when I approached. Doors that seemed recently closed. Fresh cigarette butts in supposedly abandoned guard stations. I found the entrance to the basement levels in the administrative wing, a service elevator with power cables that hummed with electricity, despite the facility being closed. Next to it, a maintenance stairwell descending into carefully controlled darkness. The stairs showed heavy use, multiple boot prints, recent, all heading down. But what sent chills through me was the return trail. Same boots, same people, but the footprints coming up were lighter, as if something had been removed from each person during their descent. I activated my phone's flashlight and began my own descent into whatever waited below. The basement smelled wrong, not mold or stagnation, something organic and deliberately maintained, like a laboratory mixing chemicals with something living. The first level appeared to match standard prison architecture, storage rooms, mechanical systems, but everything was too clean, too organized. This wasn't abandoned infrastructure. This was an active operation disguised as neglect. I found Derek's equipment cache on level 2, professional camera setup, tripods, lighting gear, but it wasn't abandoned. It was staged, positioned to document specific angles, specific approaches. Someone had been using Derek's equipment after his disappearance. I checked the memory cards. Hours of recent footage, most showing empty corridors and stone walls. But the timestamps revealed the truth. Recording sessions happening every few days, long after Derek had vanished. Someone was continuing his work. The final recordings showed multiple people moving through the tunnels, all wearing identical dark coveralls, moving with practiced efficiency, not exploring, working. One figure turned toward Derek's hidden camera. The face was visible for just 3 frames. Detective Sarah Rodriguez, but not the woman I'd spoken to that morning. This version looked younger, healthier. Her eyes held a clarity that seemed almost supernatural. My phone buzzed. Text message from Sarah's number. You're exactly where you need to be. I spun around the empty chamber. No one visible, but the feeling of observation was overwhelming. Another message. Derek chose to help us. You can make the same choice. And a third, or you can resist. We're prepared for both options. I didn't run. Every instinct screamed that running would trigger something worse than staying. Instead, I followed the power cables Derek had installed, leading deeper underground toward answers I was beginning to fear. Level 3 marked a dramatic transition. Modern prison architecture ended abruptly, replaced by carved stone passages that clearly predated any surface construction. The craftsmanship was extraordinary, professional, ancient. But this wasn't archaeological preservation. Someone had been maintaining these tunnels, cleaning them, modernizing them, with contemporary electrical systems and ventilation. The walls told stories through carved reliefs, but not random historical artifacts. These were instruction manuals, step-by-step guides for complex procedures involving groups of people and something massive residing in the depths. At the center of each carving sequence, the same symbol appeared, a geometric pattern that seemed to shift when viewed peripherally. My eyes watered when I tried to focus on it directly. Headaches started immediately. The symbol appeared to be some kind of focal point, a target, a destination. Derek's power cables continued deeper, but now they were joined by newer installations, professional electrical work, heavy-duty systems capable of supporting significant operations. I found Derek's intermediate camera setup on level 5, still recording, still functional. The timestamp showed continuous operation for exactly 6 weeks and 2 days. The recent footage revealed the scope of what was happening down here. Derek's cameras had captured dozens of people over the past 6 weeks. Not random explorers or curious trespassers, organized teams working in shifts, each group knowing exactly where to go and what to do. The footage showed a complex operation. Some people transported equipment, others maintained the tunnels. A third group focused entirely on the carved symbols, cleaning them and applying some kind of preservative treatment. But the most disturbing footage showed recruitment activities. Teams would escort newcomers through the tunnels, not prisoners or victims, willing participants, people who walked calmly through the passages, listening to explanations, asking questions. I recognized several faces from my activist network, prison reform advocates, social justice workers, people who'd expressed interest in investigating Millbrook's closure. They'd been recruited systematically, professionally. Hour 12 of Derek's continuous footage showed his own recruitment, a calm conversation with Sarah Rodriguez and 2 other figures. Derek asking questions about the tunnel's history, Sarah providing detailed answers. This predates European colonization, Sarah explained to Derek. Indigenous peoples maintained agreements here for centuries. When the prison was built, we simply continued those traditions in a more organized fashion. What kind of agreements? Derek asked. Mutual benefit. The surface world provides willing participants. The underground provides services, protection, stability, solutions to problems the surface world can't resolve. Derek's questions became more specific, more interested. By hour 15, he was volunteering to document the operation, to help find others who might appreciate the work being done. By hour 18, Derek had accepted full membership. His final recording showed him descending toward level 13, with the same purposeful calm I'd seen in all the other willing participants. The footage ended with Derek turning his camera toward the hidden entrance to the deepest levels. I was reviewing this material when footsteps echoed from above, multiple people, moving through the upper levels with familiar precision, coming for me. I gathered Derek's equipment and descended quickly toward level 7. The footsteps above multiplied, coordinated search patterns, professional techniques. These weren't prison guards or police. This was something else entirely. The industrial door from Derek's original video stood open when I reached level 7. The metal was warm despite the underground chill. Beyond it, a vast chamber carved from solid rock around something that had been waiting there for a very long time. But this wasn't a primitive ritual space. This was a modern facility. Computer workstations lined the walls. Professional lighting systems illuminated every corner. Digital displays showed real-time data I couldn't interpret. At the center, an altar that combined ancient stonework with contemporary technology. Cables ran from modern equipment into carved channels that disappeared into the rock itself. 13 workstations surrounded the central altar, each station occupied by someone in professional attire, not robes, business suits, lab coats, the clothing of people with regular jobs and responsibilities. One figure looked up from her workstation, Sarah Rodriguez, but not the detective I knew. This was someone else wearing her face, or perhaps Sarah was someone else wearing a detective's role. "You made excellent time," she said, consulting a digital display. "Right on schedule." "Schedule for what?" "Integration. The same process Derek completed 6 weeks ago. The same choice we offer everyone who demonstrates the necessary curiosity and investigative skills." The other 12 figures continued their work without acknowledging my presence. Whatever they were doing required complete concentration. "Where's Derek?" "Derek is documenting expansion operations in Ohio. 3 new facilities coming online this month. His skills were exactly what we needed for rapid scaling." She gestured toward a wall display, showing a map of the United States. Dozens of markers indicated facilities across multiple states, each marker connected to underground networks, all part of a single coordinated system. This isn't just Millbrook, I realized. Millbrook is a single node in a much larger network. We maintain active operations in 47 correctional facilities across 12 states. Each facility provides access to populations who've already been marginalized by surface society. The scope was staggering. Not a local conspiracy, a national infrastructure. "What do you do with them?" "We offer alternatives. People facing incarceration can choose service instead. Meaningful work, purpose, community. Many prefer our program to traditional imprisonment." And one of the workstation displays showed current statistics. Thousands of participants across the network, all voluntary, all actively contributing to whatever this organization accomplished. "Contribute to what, exactly?" Sarah smiled. "Management. The surface world generates more chaos than it can handle. We provide equilibrium, conflict resolution, social stability. All the services governments claim to provide, but consistently fail to deliver." The footsteps from above had reached level 7, multiple teams converging on the chamber entrance. "Your colleagues," Sarah explained. "Other investigators who've reached the same conclusions you have. They're here for the same reason you are." 3 people entered the chamber. I recognized them immediately. Fellow prison reform activists. People I'd worked with for years. But like Sarah, something fundamental had changed about them. They moved with identical precision, spoke with the same calm authority. Their individuality had been refined into perfect efficiency. "Marcus," one of them said, "we've been hoping you'd join the investigation. Everyone you've worked with over the past 2 years has been part of our recruitment assessment," Sarah explained. "We needed to evaluate your skills, your dedication, your ability to handle complex information." The wall displays showed detailed profiles, not just of me, but of hundreds of activists, journalists, and investigators, all being evaluated for recruitment potential. "We don't force participation," one of my former colleagues added. "We identify people whose existing goals align with our mission." Prison reform advocates naturally understand the failures of surface justice systems. "What's your actual mission?" Sarah activated a larger display, real-time data streams from dozens of facilities, conflict management. "We identify individuals whose presence in surface society creates instability, offer them alternative paths, channel their energies toward constructive purposes." The data was impressive. Crime reduction statistics, recidivism prevention, social stability metrics. Whatever they were doing was measurably effective. "Think of us as an advanced form of social work," another colleague explained. "We provide services that traditional systems can't offer. Immediate solutions to complex problems. What happens to people who refuse to participate. Refusal is respected, Sarah said. We simply continue our evaluation process until they're ready to appreciate the opportunities we provide. That wasn't exactly reassuring. I want to see level 13 before making any decisions. Of course, complete information enables optimal choices. Sarah led our group toward the deeper passages. My former colleagues followed with the same coordinated movement I'd observed throughout the facility. One thing, Sarah added as we descended, the deeper levels can be psychologically challenging for surface dwellers. The perspective shifts are significant. If you experience disorientation, that's completely normal. The path to level 13 was an engineered marvel, not ancient construction, but cutting-edge architecture, disguised as historical stonework. The descent felt perfectly natural, despite covering impossible distances. The walls displayed progression documentation, photos and diagrams showing the facility's development over decades, not centuries. This was a modern operation with impressive historical theater. We've been refining our techniques since the facility opened, Sarah explained. Each generation of participants helps us improve our methods. Level 13 opened into a cavern that demonstrated remarkable engineering capabilities. The space was vast, but entirely achievable with contemporary construction techniques and sufficient funding. At the center, something that commanded immediate attention, not supernatural, not otherworldly, but impressive enough to inspire the kind of awe that makes people reconsider their assumptions about reality. It was a quantum computing system, massive, sophisticated, connected to data streams from hundreds of sources, processing information at speeds that seemed impossible, but were entirely within known technological parameters. Beautiful, isn't it? Derek's voice came from behind me. Derek Matthews stepped out of the shadows, alive, healthy, professional. He carried advanced recording equipment and moved with the same purposeful precision I'd seen in all the other participants. The computational capacity is remarkable, Derek continued. We can model social outcomes with unprecedented accuracy, predict conflict patterns, optimize intervention strategies. Around the computing system, dozens of workstations hosted specialists from various fields, sociologists, psychologists, data analysts, all working with access to information that would be impossible to gather through conventional channels. This is what we do, Sarah explained. Predictive social management. We identify problems before they manifest, intervene before situations become crises. The display showed real-time analysis of social conditions across multiple states, crime patterns, economic instability, political tensions, all being tracked and modeled with extraordinary precision. Our participants from correctional facilities provide ground-level intelligence, Derek added. People who understand how systems fail because they've experienced those failures directly. I realized the scope of what I was seeing. Not a conspiracy, not a cult, a sophisticated social engineering project with resources that suggested significant institutional backing. Who funds this operation? Multiple sources, Sarah replied. Government agencies that need problems solved quietly, corporations that benefit from social stability, individuals who appreciate effective management of complex situations. Is this legal? We operate within legal frameworks. All participants volunteer. All activities comply with applicable regulations. We simply provide services that official channels can't deliver efficiently. Your investigative skills would be valuable for expansion operations, Sarah continued. We're developing new recruitment strategies, need people who understand how to reach audiences that might benefit from our programs. The quantum system displayed my own profile, detailed analysis of my work, my network, my potential value to their operations. Derek has been documenting our success stories, she added, but we need someone with your credibility to reach broader audiences. What kind of audiences? Activists who understand system failures, journalists who investigate institutional problems, researchers who study social dynamics, people who already question official narratives. Derek activated one of his cameras. Your videos could help people understand what we accomplish here. Show them alternatives they never knew existed. I realized they weren't trying to silence my investigation. They wanted to use it. Every piece of content you create brings us potential participants, Sarah explained. People who watch your videos, follow your research, share your findings. All of them become candidates for recruitment evaluation. The quantum system displayed projection models. My potential reach through various platforms. The audience numbers were significant. We're not asking you to lie or exaggerate, Derek added. Just document what you've experienced. Share what you've learned. Let people make their own decisions about whether our programs might benefit them. What if I refuse? Refusal is acceptable, Sarah said. We'll simply continue our current expansion plans without your assistance. But opportunities like this don't often repeat themselves. The chamber filled with dozens of participants, all former skeptics who'd chosen to join after seeing the evidence, all working on projects that seemed genuinely beneficial. Crime reduction, conflict prevention, social stability enhancement, resource optimization. Whatever ethical concerns I had about their methods, their results were impressive. We have programs that could revolutionize criminal justice, one participant explained. Rehabilitation techniques that actually work, intervention strategies that prevent crimes instead of just punishing them afterward. But we need broader public support, another added. People like you who can explain our work to audiences that might not otherwise understand the benefits. I looked around the facility. Hundreds of people working on solutions to problems that governments and institutions had failed to address effectively. I need time to process this information. Time is acceptable, Sarah agreed, but not unlimited time. Our expansion schedule requires decisions within specific time frames. While you consider your options, Derek said, let me show you some of our success stories. He led me to a documentation center, wall-mounted displays showing before and after statistics from facilities where their programs had been implemented. The numbers were remarkable. Crime reduction, recidivism prevention, community stability improvement, measurable positive outcomes that traditional approaches hadn't achieved. These aren't theoretical projections, Derek explained. These are actual results from real implementations. Video testimonials from participants showed people who'd found purpose and direction through the programs, former inmates who'd become productive contributors, activists who'd found more effective ways to create positive change. But the most impressive results come from prevention programs, Sarah added, joining our discussion. We identify potential problems before they manifest, intervene before situations become crises. She showed me case studies, individuals who'd been on paths towards serious crimes, redirected into constructive activities, communities where brewing conflicts had been resolved through targeted interventions. Traditional law enforcement responds to problems after they occur, she continued. We prevent problems from occurring in the first place. The quantum computing system provided predictive capabilities that seemed impossible, but were based on solid mathematical principles. Social dynamics followed patterns that could be modeled and influenced with sufficient data and processing power. Your documentation could help people understand these possibilities, Derek said. Show them that solutions exist for problems they thought were unsolvable. I spent hours reviewing their evidence, statistical analyses, case studies, video documentation, financial records showing transparent use of resources. Whatever moral ambiguities existed in their methods, their outcomes were consistently positive. People deserve to know that these alternatives exist, Sarah argued. Your investigation could provide that information. After reviewing their documentation, I understood why so many investigators had chosen to join their operation. The evidence was compelling, the results were measurable, the potential benefits were significant. But something still felt wrong about the situation. "Why all the secrecy?" I asked. "If your results are this positive, why not operate openly?" "Public perception," Sarah explained. "People have preconceptions about alternative justice approaches. They assume anything different from traditional systems must be dangerous or illegal. Also, our methods require privacy to be effective," Derek added. "Public oversight would compromise our ability to gather accurate data and implement optimal interventions." That made sense from an operational perspective, but it also created opportunities for abuse that traditional oversight mechanisms were designed to prevent. "What guarantees do participants have that your programs remain beneficial?" "Results," Sarah replied simply. "If our methods stopped producing positive outcomes, participants would leave. We maintain their loyalty through continued effectiveness, not through coercion." The quantum system displayed real-time feedback from participants across the network: satisfaction ratings, performance metrics, outcome assessments, all indicating high levels of voluntary engagement. "Your final decision, Marcus," Sarah said. "Document our work and help us reach new audiences, or return to surface activities with our gratitude for your discretion." "What about my existing investigations?" "Continue them," Derek encouraged, "but with access to resources and information that could make your work far more effective." The offer was tempting: access to data that could revolutionize criminal justice research, resources that could amplify my advocacy work, opportunities to create positive change on scales I'd never imagined possible. But accepting would mean becoming part of a system I didn't fully understand, with oversight mechanisms I couldn't evaluate, pursuing goals that might not align with my original mission. "I need to return to the surface to consider this properly," I finally said. "Acceptable," Sarah agreed. "You have 72 hours to reach your decision. After that, our expansion schedule requires us to proceed with or without your participation." Derek escorted me back through the levels toward the surface. As we climbed, he continued documenting our conversation with professional equipment. "The choice isn't as difficult as it seems," he said as we reached level 3. "You're already investigating these issues. We're just offering better tools and broader access. What if I decide not to participate?" "Then you return to your current work with interesting memories and some unusual footage," Derek replied. "But you'll always wonder what might have been possible with better resources." Emerging from the underground facility felt like leaving a different world. The ordinary daylight seemed harsh after hours of controlled illumination. Normal sound seemed chaotic after the organized quiet of the deeper levels. Derek walked me to my car, still recording everything. 72 hours, he reminded me, then return here with your decision. The drive back to Detroit gave me time to process what I'd experienced. Not supernatural horror, but something potentially more unsettling. A sophisticated operation that might be exactly what it claimed to be. My apartment felt different now. Every book, every research file, every piece of activist literature seemed connected to the larger questions Sarah's organization was trying to address. I spent the first day reviewing my existing investigations, looking for patterns I might have missed, connections that could benefit from the resources and access they were offering. The second day, I researched quantum computing applications in social modeling. The technology they demonstrated was cutting edge, but entirely feasible. Their claims about predictive capabilities were ambitious, but not impossible. The third day, I made my decision. I returned to Millbrook, carrying a digital recorder and backup storage devices. Whatever choice I made, I wanted complete documentation of the process. Sarah was waiting in the main yard, not pretending to be surprised by my presence. "You've made your decision," she observed. "I want to participate," I said, "but with conditions." "What conditions?" "Complete access to your documentation procedures, full transparency about methods and outcomes, regular reporting to maintain accountability." Sarah considered this acceptable. "Your oversight instincts are exactly why we want your participation." She led me back toward the underground entrance. "Derek is preparing for an expansion documentation project in Pennsylvania. You could assist with that work while learning our procedures." As we descended past the familiar levels, I felt a mixture of anticipation and uncertainty. This could be the most important decision of my career, or the most dangerous mistake of my life. "One thing," Sarah added, as we reached level 7, "once you begin documentation work with us, your perspective on surface systems will change significantly. Are you prepared for that psychological adjustment?" "I think so. We'll find out." 6 months later, I'm recording this update from the Pennsylvania facility. Derek and I have been documenting expansion operations across 3 states. The work is exactly what Sarah promised: challenging, meaningful, and remarkably effective. Our programs have diverted over 2,000 individuals from traditional incarceration into constructive alternatives. Crime rates in target communities are down by 37%. Recidivism among participants is virtually non-existent. The quantum modeling system has enabled us to prevent 14 potential violent incidents through targeted interventions. Communities that were experiencing increasing tensions are now demonstrating measurable stability improvements. My role involves documenting these outcomes and developing communication strategies that help people understand the alternatives we provide. Not recruitment in the manipulative sense, but education about options that most people never realize exist. Derek continues his video documentation, but now with professional production support and access to subjects who've agreed to share their experiences. His content reaches audiences who might benefit from knowing about our programs. The network has expanded to 63 facilities across 18 states. Each location provides alternatives to traditional incarceration while generating data that improves our intervention capabilities. Every person who joins our programs does so voluntarily after reviewing complete information about expectations and outcomes. No coercion, no deception, just opportunities that align with existing goals and values. If you're watching this, you're probably investigating similar issues. Prison reform, criminal justice alternatives, social intervention strategies. The problems we address affect millions of people who deserve better solutions than current systems provide. We're always looking for people whose skills and perspectives could contribute to this work. Investigators, activists, researchers, content creators, anyone who understands that complex problems require sophisticated solutions. Consider this an invitation to learn more, not pressure to join, but awareness that alternatives exist if traditional approaches aren't meeting your expectations. The surface world continues to struggle with problems we've learned to solve. That doesn't have to continue indefinitely. Subscribe for updates on our documentation projects. Share your thoughts about alternative justice approaches. Connect with others who believe that better solutions are possible. The choice is always yours to make. But now you know the choices exist. This recording was uploaded to multiple platforms by Marcus Chen 6 months after his initial investigation of Millbrook Correctional Facility. The programs described have been independently verified by academic researchers and policy analysts. Expansion continues across multiple states with demonstrated positive outcomes. Derek Matthews' documentation work has won several awards for investigative journalism. His videos provide comprehensive overviews of alternative justice programs for audiences interested in criminal justice reform. Millbrook Correctional Facility remains officially closed to traditional operations, but serves as a training center for alternative justice practitioners. Tours are available for qualified researchers and policymakers. Applications for program participation are accepted through official channels. All participants retain the right to discontinue involvement at any time. The quantum modeling system continues to demonstrate unprecedented accuracy in predicting and preventing social conflicts. Results are shared with academic institutions and policy research organizations. For more information about alternative justice programs in your area, contact your local social services coordination office.